Hey. All right, come back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got something screwed up on my end where it's coming through, but we're fine.
Okay.
We got 26 seconds left. All right.
33. So I'm a tad behind. Okay, so it makes sense that this is how we get more people in here because
There's no video.
in hindsight, I think that this is how that college football podcast that I do, they would do something on Mondays last season, and they would always mention like, "Hey, if you want to ask a question, request to speak, raise your hand." And
Yeah.
so that is what they were doing. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
That's what it is. So we'll explain that here in a second. So if people want to do that tonight, they can. But we'll let this finish up and people get here.
So I guess we can't put video in here to watch it together as a group, right? Is that how I understand it?
Yeah, no. That if we want to use this one, we can't.
Okay, that's all good.
I mean, we can finish up talking when we're done doing our show. We can end it. We can move to someplace we want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to. And then, yeah. And it's good, too. Well, we're on YouTube now, too, so we won't get kicked off it. For showing
What was
video.
that?
I said I'm already recording. I'm already going live on YouTube, too. We won't get
cool.
We won't get kicked off of that for copyright.
Oh, yeah, because there won't be a...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Denver's going to kick a field goal.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. I won't say what happens. I know I ruined the Florida-Utah game for you doing it.
Oh, you did? Yeah, and then I was like, hey, don't spoil it. And then you were like, oh, never mind. It doesn't matter. Jeez.
I thought that was kind of nondescript.
Yeah.
There could have been a pick six to end the game.
Nondescript, you jerk.
Let's see. Those guys left the public lobby. All right. Well, apparently I did whatever you needed to make this thing work.
Sweet.
And it's got a lock by. I was worried that I made it too open, but it's got a lock by it still there. So I think it's going by the rules of the member lounge.
Cool.
So I don't know. Nobody cares.
And then is there a chat in here?
It looks like there may not be.
Man, what's going on here?
We just go up to the. I mean, you can just do that in one of the channels, though. You just.
Oh yeah, here. Let me click into.
Or you could make a.
Can you make
you could make a channel for it.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say if everyone wants to go over into the live. Should we do like the live event chat, or do you want to make a new one?
Let me just make one real quick. Attempt.
Okay, you'll make one?
Yeah. MNF912. And I'll just delete it when we're done.
Cool. There it is.
All right, so yeah. We will all right. Cool. Let me
Sweet.
I need to change my permissions here. No, I think we're good. All right.
You want to start this one? Or you want me
Sure.
to start this one?
I'm not. Look at how calm I am, and how I already have the YouTube running, and so that's going.
And
now.
my audio's recording.
Although your audio's fine, and I don't think I'm sure nobody's even watching the YouTube, but I made it anyway in case we had another emergency with people not being able to get on Discord. But I think we fixed all of those. So, yeah, I'll start recording. All right.
Cool.
Or do you want to? Should we? Actually, let's say the stuff first about just. So we're in a new room that's called a stage. We had to become a community service to a community server to be able to do this, which you don't really. I can tell you about if you care, but you probably don't. But anyway, so the thing about this is, if you didn't hear, it looks like there's no chat in here. And so what we did is I just made a chat channel right above it, so we'll keep going back, and you can go to that and you can stay connected.
Like I'm in the chat right now, and,
right.
and obviously we can still hear chat.
And so since the new stages, and if we don't like the stages and we want to go back the other way, we can, but that only allows for 25. And I think we're going to be fine tonight. So this is sort of a test. See what you think. We can go back to the regular studios, and we will want to do that if we're ever doing something with video. But for now, we're going to try this tonight, and we'll see what you think. So yeah, you can stay on that MNF 912 chat room that I made. I'm just going to delete it after it's over, so don't put anything you want to stay in there. And then the other thing is, since we're in the stage with these new features, you can request to speak. Now, I don't know exactly what your all screens look like, because I don't need to request to speak. So if you can try that out, figure it out. So like tonight, throughout, if you ever have a question or have a topic you want to get into or an opinion you want to jump in with, you are welcome to do that. So I'll keep my eye on that. And if anybody requests, I can bring them on. And if they try and filibuster, and I'm not referring to Joe specifically, but if they try and filibuster, we can.
If someone's talking for 15 minutes straight,
that's kind of what I was referring to. Yeah, something like that. Not the Joe who's here now, Joe in Phoenix.
No, different. I think everybody knows the Joe.
Yeah, it's yep. All right,
if you're just hopping in, Jack made a Monday Night Football chat that we can hang out in to just have our usual, back and forth like normal.
For text chat, but you can stay in here. So, and if you miss our faces, maybe next time we'll go back to we'll just see. Tell me what you guys think after this is all over.
Yeah, honestly, let's see how this goes. If you like this better, I mean, I guess that of course the big issue with the other one is the number of people, and I think the Saturday night shows, and obviously the Saturday morning shows too, but really the Saturday night shows I think are going to become the big dog every week. So if it's better to do it this way for that, or if people like it the other way, and then we just are on YouTube and some people can't participate on Discord. I mean, we, like Jack said, we were monitoring that the other day, so we could still do that too.
Oh, and Oliver, let's see. Oh, Oliver's in here now. Okay, he was chatting looks like on YouTube there. So, all right, I'm gonna start the podcast in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the I-80 Club's first ever Monday Night Football show. Jack Mitchell here along with Josh Peterson, and it's a night in the club hanging out. We are watching Denver and Seattle right now. It'll be over probably by the time that you hear this on the podcast, but enjoying that game. We're going to do this every Monday night during the football season, where we'll jump on right when halftime starts and then kind of get into talking about whatever the story of the day is. A lot of days this will be right after a press conference or day right after they fired a coach. And so there's plenty to talk about because of that. And so we'll do that. We'll kind of stick through about the third quarter. And then we know people might want to watch the fourth quarter and the end of the game, so we'll get you off in time to do that, which you can also, if you're a member of the Discord, you can also do on the Discord 24/7 as well. So, all right, there you go. Josh, How's it going? Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm just fine. Do you have Scott Frost fired era exhaustion yet?
No. You know what I
That's
think
good
I
because
have?
we're
though,
a
and I
day
think-
in out of 3 months.
No, yeah. So here's what I think I have. And I realized this as I drove home. I actually did decide. I was like, I think I've had enough of the Frost was fired, like the immediate reaction podcasts and radio stuff. Like I listened to. I mean, I did. It's so funny. You and I did an hour yesterday theorizing what it will look like when it happens. And
What a
then
waste
we
of freaking
said goodbye
time.
and then it happened.
God.
Yeah. And
Somebody
then,
said on the chat in
they
one of
should-
these places, like, that was the most quickly out of date podcast ever, or something like that.
Yeah, seriously. It was. I mean, it's so funny, and that happens to a lot of podcasts that I listen to. It's like, they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, we logged off," and then literally everything broke. And so that happened. John and I did 3.5 hours yesterday, and then obviously the normal radio show today. And then I listened to a ton. I listened to the national places that I really like. I read the national places I really liked. I've listened to both of the shows on my station. I've read obviously a ton of local stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm good now with my fill on why did this happen? How did this happen? Should it have happened now? I think I've moved on from that. Here is though where I'm actually annoyed, and I guess we can begin the conversation with these stupid tweets from Tim Brando, and I think he deleted one of them.
Tim
I don't
Brando?
know if you've seen
I thought you were
these.
going to say Joe Moglia. All right, Tim Brando. We can start with those then.
Okay, so
I don't know of
yes,
these.
he
I
deleted.
don't know of these.
He deleted. What was that?
I just don't know of these. So
Okay, awesome. Well, I get to break them to you. He deleted the first one that I will read to you. He has the second one up. So the first one was, I don't know what time it was. The screenshot that I have, it was at least over an hour ago. I spoke to Hugh Freeze today. While it was quick, he was succinct. My question was, and then he tagged Nebraska football. Is Nebraska football a job you would be interested in? His response, sure, if they want to win. And then he tagged someone named Jake Crane, who I don't know who that is, posted his opinion, so I dialed him up. Someone will hire him in soon, just saying, shrug emoji. He then followed up, and this was about a half hour ago. I should rephrase and do so with an apology here to Hugh Freeze. I was speaking in a speculative manner, and it was a text, not in person. I'm sure his players wouldn't want to think he's bailing on them because he's not. It was simply a, would you consider Nebraska? Sorry, Hugh. Like, what a moron, man.
he got caught going a little further than he didn't have the breaking news that he tried to make that, did he?
Yeah,
was
exactly.
like,
So
hey,
now he has to
So
apologize.
it was a text and not in person?
That's because that's how I read it. Because somebody sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a long few months." And the person said it's gonna be insanely long. You're gonna be sick. And so I responded just with a joke like, "Hey, I was walking my dog, and Urban Meyer, he was helping a lady cross the street, and I asked him, hey, would you want to go to Nebraska? And he said, of course, it's my dream job." So that's what I'm annoyed by. I'm annoyed by this stuff because I feel like we're gonna hear it forever.
I haven't even started the tweets like I saw Matt Campbell or somebody at Runza by my house. I mean, that's coming,
Oh yeah. Oh, we saw people. We saw people. At the grocery store.
Right. Dave
all those
Aranda
things.
was in front of me at the Scooters coffee line. Yeah, that's coming.
Josh says the Lars Anderson tweet should be shown in there too.
Oh God. Yeah, we already have 3, and then you got the Joe Moglia one.
And then you have the Joe Moglia one. I think is honestly one of the. I say that one is the most maybe impactful because he basically admitted if he's not lying. Now who knows? All these people apparently are just saying random crap. If Moglia Jack is not lying, he's saying Nebraska reached out to him before they fired Frost.
Yeah. So for those who didn't see it, one of you guys tweeted it out, and I'm trying to find it now. On
The Joe Moglia one.
Yeah, or one of you guys put it in the Husker football chat room.
Did he delete that? Was that deleted too? Oh no, here we go. I got him.
Oh,
you want me to read them?
Got it. Yeah, read them for people who didn't get a chance to hear them.
Okay, so these were multiple tweets from Joe Moglia. It doesn't surprise me that Coach Chadwell would be one of the names linked with the Nebraska job or any other top job for that matter. I was contacted a couple weeks ago by someone close to the decision-making process and was asked my thought with regard to a replacement. I said Jamie has done a great job for us to Coastal Carolina. I love him, and we would not want to lose him. but he would absolutely get the job done at Nebraska. I mean, Jack, this is exactly what Trev Alberts was warning everybody about yesterday.
But I thought we were going to hear about that like the week or two before Thanksgiving, not 24 hours after it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
incredible.
So, I mean, so here's let's deep dive into this actual tweet here, because he says, as I see it here, he says, God, people keep chatting, it's bouncing down. By someone, I was contacted a couple weeks ago by someone close to the decision making process, and was asked my thought with regard to a replacement. I mean, you know, he's probably knows people who are like outside. Joe Mowgli is a different guy than just, you know, like the athletic director of, you know, wherever else, Washington or something, because Mowgli probably has relationships that are within the athletic department. So it wouldn't be that weird if somebody called him and just was like, so what do you think, right? Looks like there's a good chance we're going to make a change. What do you think on this? So, like, I don't know. It's hard. That doesn't get me too surprised or fired up about it having gone on predating the firing.
Oh, look, I mean, I think we're all kind of expecting it to be happening, right?
Yeah.
They
should be.
It's interesting.
They should have been.
It's more interesting, I think, for the... Well, I mean, two reasons. The first one is the obvious, and that's like, wow, okay, so maybe they're interested in Chadwell. I mean, that's obviously interesting on its surface. The other that I love, and I'm sure you're interested in this stuff too, Jack, is like just the process of these types of things, you know, because we have theories on how they unfold. It's really cool, though, when you can kind of see it in theory in real time, where a guy's like, yeah, they contacted us, you know, like that. Right. I mean, that's pretty fascinating to hear about.
Yeah, why did he tweet that out?
That's what I'm wondering too.
How does that benefit him other than, I mean, if he was his coach's agent, I might understand it.
Sure.
But he's his boss. What in the heck is he doing?
Yeah.
Like,
odd.
how do you
Very
benefit
odd.
by that other than like sort of bragging that you have insiders calling you? Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Like,
does it
weird,
make your school
flex,
look good
bro.
that you have a coach that Nebraska wants? Does that make your school look good?
Or just that you get called for advice on these sorts of things, which I still wonder how much of it was just I'm calling people I know who are coaches, just sort of checking out names, what's being said in the industry and that kind of thing, rather than inquiring about his specific coach. That's the other thing. Now, Mowgli had another tweet too, though, right?
He did?
Yeah, he had. It was him, I think.
Is this the one that Stu Manchi just posted in the chat? Whoa, I hadn't seen this one.
Yes. Now, look at this.
Whoa.
Thank you, Stu Manchi.
Wow.
I didn't want to go off my screen because it's going to go on the YouTube and who knows what kind of stuff I'll have open. But yeah.
Oh,
so
hello.
So it's in the chat. So for those who can't see it right now, Joe Mowgli also tweeted, let's see, so this was at 4:40 and the other ones are at 5:19. So he did this first, which is hilarious. He said, I have a lot of respect for Trev Alberts and Scott Frost, but Scott did not get the job done at Nebraska, and everyone knew that. I well know that Nebraska almost has unlimited money for football, but it's irresponsible to pay $15 million when you can wait a few weeks and save $7.5 million. So now he is weighing in on so many things about Nebraska right now, basically unprompted and publicly.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so that one was first, and then did you see the follow-up where he said, this has clearly become a trend in the Power 5 conferences, and the simple reason is the huge amounts of money each gets from the TV revenue. So that's how we began the tweeting about Nebraska, and then the other ones, he followed up a little bit later, and that was when he talked about Jamie Chadwell. Weird.
Yeah, so this was before all of that. So
odd.
I mean, Joe Mowgli right now has said more about this than anyone.
By the way, I thought Chadwell's name was eventually going to come up. I guess I didn't really think him kind of entering the chat, so to speak, because of Joe Mowgli, though. Like, what an odd way for this thing to kick off with him, I guess.
This is going to be, Josh, this is the perfect way to start this 3-month period with Joe Mowgli.
Dude, I realized it
tweets.
Today. John and I were talking, and I realized, looking at the date, September 12th, we are probably going to have double the amount of time of the search that resulted in
saw your
Callahan. That
tweet
was
about
40
that,
days.
and that felt like it was forever.
Yeah, and this is going to be 80. This is probably going to be 80 days-ish.
And here's the
because 80
thing.
days from now is December 1st. It's a Thursday.
And the thing that's going to make this one even more excruciating, those sorts of things happen, this is all just going to be stuff like this. It's not even going to be like good hard news at any point. Or like or Dirk asking Bill Moose about going to Philadelphia or whatever. There's not going to be like any of that. It's all going to be.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, so
It's gonna be tweets from Joe Moglia
and Tim Brando.
And Tim Brando.
My gosh. Let me ask you something, and it kind of goes back to Moglia's first set of tweets that we talked about second. Like, do people not realize, or do they not care when they critique the timing of this thing, that there is at least a very good chance, in my opinion, that of these 7.5 million that was due, that would not have been due in October, that was taken care of by a private entity that would only take care of it or put that money in Nebraska's coffers if they used it to pay off Scott Frost? Like, I feel like probably everybody knows that or thinks that's very possible, but they talk about it like it's 7.5 million that Nebraska just has in a checking account that they're now giving away and would have 2 weeks later, which I don't think is the case.
Yeah, it's funny. I guess I don't know if I've sensed frustration with the actual money or where it's come from, and more, and I think you and I talked about this yesterday, or maybe we talked about it on Saturday morning, just the possibility of going back, like making a move this early and costing yourself the same amount of money if you would have done so last year. Like, I think that's the only frustration that I have sensed, but I don't really, I mean, look, I'm not hanging out in the circle of Husker fans that is mad about paying coaches to not coach anymore. Like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, I want the program to be good, and you do it by any means necessary. But I do know that there are, like, I hear stories about these people, but I guess I haven't interacted with anyone who's like, how can they afford this? Because everyone I talk to knows how they can afford this.
Really, I'm surprised you haven't gotten more of that call, because I feel like there's been a lot of that.
Did it come up on your show a lot today?
No, not necessarily, but I didn't even open up my text during the show, so it might have.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we talked about it. Well, I'll tell you this, Josh. We talked about it as having been one of the big debates, more so than whether or not you fire Frost, more about the timing and the financial impact of when you do it. So we talked about it in that vein. But I mean, I think that is, I think that's, it's not quite as simple again as, and I know I may be preaching to the choir here, but it's not just as simple as, okay, well, that $7.5 million that could have been used on anything else the athletic department needs. I don't think that's necessarily the case, and I wouldn't assume that in this whole thing. So
yeah, exactly. It's not like they're like, oh crap, we got to move around money. Damn it, we can't do this new thing. And Stu Manji points it out. It's not like he's getting a lump sum. They're not handing him one of those big checks.
No, yeah, that's also
carving
true.
it up.
Yeah, it is carved up. But I'm even, let's see. I would be not surprised if somebody came to Trev, or a group of people came to Trev with deep pockets that said, if you get this done ASAP, we will make sure you are, if you're reluctant at all because of the buyout, we'll make sure that is paid for with donations. We'll take care of it, essentially. I think there's a non-zero chance that happened, either for the whole thing or at least part of it.
Now, what about the television contract of it all? Like, do you think that they're just like, let's just pay for it with that? Or do you think are you leaning more that it was a booster or boosters?
Yeah, I'm leaning more. Yes, I'm leaning more toward the thought that there were people who came, and that also is my theory for why it got so expedited so quickly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Even after game one, if they're making calls to Joe Moglia after game one, yes, I think that. But no, seriously, I think something. I think it was after the Northwest. I think the tone. I think everything changed after the Northwestern game, and I think the willingness and ability to do it from a financial perspective look different afterwards than it did obviously in December or even before the Northwestern game. That's me.
No, that's fair.
That's me sort of reading. That's me not necessarily knowing much, but it's sort of me knowing how this thing often works and also reading just some of the tea leaves on the whole thing, I would say.
Yeah, it's funny, and don't take this as a criticism of you, but when I think of my interest level in situations like this, I think one of the last things that I'm always interested in is like how they get the money and if it's boosters. Now, the Palace intrigue of a booster coming and saying, I want this guy gone, here's money, I will support this, or Trev going and asking for it, that part is interesting to me. And I guess maybe it's all the same, and so maybe I'm just talking out of both sides of my mouth. But like, if somebody asked me that today, like, hey, how did they pay for it? I'd be like, I don't know. Maybe it was a booster, but I don't know. For some reason, that part has never just gotten my. Now, maybe it's because the money. I mean, look, it's a lot of money. I would love $7.5 million. Maybe it's because it's not like a $40 million buyout that I'm maybe not as intrigued by it. I guess the thing that Jack, am kind of more fascinated by, and look, maybe it's as simple as a booster. Like Trev didn't want him anyway, and a booster gave him permission, and he gave him the money. But yeah. Like. They could have waited, as we talked about a lot yesterday. In theory, they could have let him coach one more game, and then they could have been like, you're out of here on October 1st. The fact that they wanted him jettisoned now, I don't know if enough people, and I'll throw myself in there, I don't know if we have talked enough about the fact that they were like, we don't want Scott Frost to be the head coach of our program for a literal single game anymore. He needs to go. Okay. I think that's the thing that is still sticking with me.
Okay, let's talk about it. And by the way, just to go back real quick on one thing and then go forward with what you're saying. For the record, I mean, I agree with you on the I'm not like I know that you're not like. I feel like on that $7.5 million, I feel like there's no way that's going to impact me, right? As a fan,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think it. I don't think it is going to impact me. I do think it feels very. Yeah, when I hear something like that, it does feel frivolous and wasteful and all those things. But it's. But I feel like that's all over the place. Also, I feel like I'd have to get really selectively angry to get super frustrated with just that one.
Yeah.
So I don't do it. I'm just surprised at when people are critiquing it that they're just assuming, like I said, that they're assuming that is a $7.5 million that is lost that the university athletic department would have had otherwise. So, that's my only point. Okay, now here's my question for you, Josh, because you brought this topic up, and I think this is a really interesting topic. And you can even think about it in terms of value. I don't know if $7.5 million worth of value, but how important was it that national TV is coming into town next week? Obviously, it's a big game. It's the most attention a Nebraska game will get the rest of this year. I think it's easily fair to say, right? Because it's in that primetime matchup. Well, primetime for Fox in that primetime matchup. And it's just, and they're doing the pregame show and all of those things. This game they're featured, I mean, the conversation is completely different now during that show and during the broadcast and everything else with the most eyes on it. How much do you think that specific part of it, that sort of how they look and how they're setting the narrative and how early they're setting the narrative when they have the national audience, how much do you think something like that could have played into this?
Dude, I think it could. I think that it could absolutely play a part. I mean, you think about Saturday now versus what Saturday would have been. It really would have felt like. I mean, I was thinking about the stuff from a broadcaster's point of view. So, like, what's the sell for Fox? Like, hey, come watch Scott Frost maybe last game, and it's like a funeral. Like it's like a pretty depressing scene.
The only way you market that is to people who hate him and want to see him fail, which feels like everybody outside of Nebraska. But yeah,
exactly. So, and now you don't have to do that, right? Like you don't have to look at it from such a negative point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's some real PR value to that whole thing.
Yes. Absolutely. And so now Nebraska can, whether it's Trev, whether it's Mickey, like, you think Frost was going to want to speak to, like, and he would have had to, like, the big noon thing? Now it's like, it's just going to be like breath of fresh air is such an overused like thing to say in these types of moments, but I mean there will be. I think people are going to have a pep in their step, and you want to talk about like as sad as a lot of people are, and as sad as maybe everybody is. I also think that there are people that are just like happy that this is now behind them, and like Pope says, nothing to lose now. Like I think that is going to be a very real thing for Saturday, and they can kind of put their best foot forward.
Absolutely. And I still go back to what we talked about before, Josh. I think we talked about this in the now super out of date Sunday morning podcast that we did, but I think was a real concern too about how it would go over if he did this after a win. And if he didn't do it after a win, just because how the schedule sets up, you could get yourself in a position where you've got to wait till the end of the year, and it may even be awkward then. Like I know that's not likely with the way things looked on Saturday, but you got to think about that, because that could put you in imagine that if they go out and look really good against Indiana, right? For whatever reason, after a week off and whatever, and beat them 35-10 or something, like then you can't do it. And then what kind of momentum they have going into Rutgers after that? Like, yeah. That's I think that played in a ton. That's the other big thing that I can think of. But yeah, I think the decision was made. They were looking for the right time to do it. Honestly, that's what it is. They didn't know when that would come, but they were going to do it for the first right time they could do it, right?
Yeah, and this was it. Think back, and think back, Jack, to yesterday and what Trev was saying. I think that for the most part, he was pretty honest without divulging all the details. But one question that he really sidestepped was, when did you make up your mind? And I think Sam followed up and said, if they would have won last night, would you have still made the decision? And that was like the one question he didn't want to answer. And I found that pretty interesting. And so, does that say that the wheels were in motion no matter what it was going to happen? Look, I know that I'm a broken record on this, but Sipple writing what he did last week, he was the only local person who had that. He was the only local person who said if they lose, he might get fired that night. And it wasn't that night, but it was, a half day later. And so, were the wheels really in motion early last week for something to happen on Saturday and perhaps happen on Saturday, win or lose?
Yeah, even the part that Sipple said about needing 8 wins made me, my response to that is, oh, okay, they want to fire him, right?
Yeah,
they want to fire him, and they're going to find they'll look for the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I don't know, in defense, if that's what I'm trying to say, but like he'd been saying that all offseason. He's been on the 8-win number for months, and I know a lot of people were like, wait, no way, 8 wins, Sipple, you're out of your mind. And just given what I had heard like about the mystery metrics. I guess, hey, we're among friends, and he's gone now. So what I was told at some point in the offseason was he had to go 7-5, and there were no double-digit losses allowed. No quote-unquote blowouts. Now, obviously, he only lasted 3 games, and he did not lose by double digits. But that is what I was told was a part of it. That was one source in particular. There was another one who is really plugged in that was like, look, it's not a number. It's going to be about a feel for things. And I guess I don't know how that is a mystery metric. Like, some people think that Trev just kind of said that, and it really wasn't. He didn't mean for it to become what it did, but all of us just are so interested in everything that it became what it did.
Yeah. Maybe that's it, because he does like to be. And Jake is saying this right now. One of Trev's best traits is straightforward talk. When he stumbles a bit, like he did with Sam's question, it's obvious there's more he doesn't want to say. Basically, his ass was gone after Northwestern, which I think is true.
Yeah.
But I think all of that is true. But yeah, you're right. It's almost like, how we like went through the minute by minute schedule almost of Sunday morning, with who was in the room and the firing and that stuff. Like that was like that sort of transparency thing, and I think he had to say the metrics thing though. I think he needed to sell at that time that the financial part of it, that he was being tough on him, that he was keeping him, but there were expectations, and So I mean, I think he had to say that existed. I think they just gotten into they didn't have much forethought about what the legal situation would be around about people trying to get those. I think that's probably the
and I guess I'll add one more thing too. And I always have to remind myself this. The metrics was never technically about getting fired. The metric was always about getting his contract back to full capacity. So, I mean, in theory, if you're better than if you're 7-5 and no blowout losses, you're getting paid full again.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean. But I don't know. I mean, but then it's like, okay, so could he have gotten that and not gotten fired? Like, I don't know. You just kind of twist yourself into a pretzel. I remember when I first heard that number, I thought it was low. And so Sipple saying what he did about 8-4, that I don't know, just given how poor they had been on the field the last few years, that number seemed more realistic to me, even though it sounded like it's such a high number. And you're like, well, they're not going to go 8-4. Why would he make a number that high? And then it's like, well, probably because the answer is he doesn't want to bring him back for a 6th season.
Yeah, that's still fascinating. How sure was Trev, and when was he sure that this thing didn't have a long-term future? I would love to be a fly in his mind and find that out. Because I don't know if it was last December. I don't know if it was after the Northwestern game. I don't know if it was after something happened. I still, Josh, think the theory is interesting that Trev was turned off by just kind of the way Frost was talking and behaving and those sorts of things this year too. And I wonder if that played in or if that was irrelevant. We talked about that a lot a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, and I remember Big Ten Media Days and how, a lot of people were like, this stuff doesn't matter. And it's like, I think it does to Trev, though.
Yeah,
I think that stuff legit matters to him.
I wonder,
and Brendan says the hobby comment was about Frost. Yeah, that type, and Trev was very quick to be like, hey, and I'm not saying these things disparaging about Frost, but, I mean, it is not hard at all to read between the lines with that comment.
Are you saying Frost golfs? Is that what it is? Oh, okay.
He literally said, somebody sent me the quote and I had forgotten about it, but in the offseason he was asked, like, what would you like to do as a CEO? And he talks about being with fans and boosters more, and then he also mentions hunting in western Nebraska more. It's like, okay, well, interesting.
Yeah. I think golfing is part of it too, but nonetheless. All right, so looks like we got 6 minutes left, by the way. Still Seahawks 17-13 right now. Geno Smith looks weirdly good, Josh.
What the hell?
I didn't really realize he was like in the league until this summer, like in the league, like / able to vie for a starting spot. He's old. West Virginia, right? Like years ago.
Yeah. He had like an insane game versus one of those Baylor teams. I think like the Baylor team, like right before they started winning the conference, where it was like 70-63 or something.
All those Baylor West Virginia games and TCU a little bit too
nuts.
In that era were nuts every year. Oh, Randy Gregory just made DK Metcalf fumble or recovered it.
Oh, hey, spoiler alert again.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Am I that far ahead of you? Huh.
Yeah, well, I'm watching on the stream. I'm watching on Fubo.
No, I'm watching on YouTube TV. Look, I don't have a cable.
Wow, Fubo. Thanks a lot, Fubo.
Yeah. And,
okay, so I'm guessing it's just about to happen.
And I'm watching Peyton and Eli. Maybe they're ahead.
Yep, here it comes. Boom. Nice play, Randy.
Okay, so we got a few minutes left, Josh. What are you interested in hearing about tomorrow? What do you think we're going to hear about tomorrow? Either from Mickey directly, I guess, to start.
Yep.
What are you expecting, and what do you want to hear from him?
So, I mean, Trev alluded to some changes. There's been a little reporting on it so far, and I've heard some things too. I know Sean Callahan mentioned on Husker Online today. They're what are they doing? They're doing something different with their Sundays. I can't remember exactly what. I think they might be practicing on Sundays now. Like, and honestly, I don't really care about that. But just like changing things, like that's happening. So I guess I want to hear about some of the structural changes. It sounds like there's going to be some shuffling on the defensive staff. Like, I guess Travis Fisher is going to be moving to just coaching corners, and then either Chins or Bush or both will be involved with the safeties. So that's happening. I can't remember if I've heard anything else with some of the moving and shaking. Look, I mean, I don't think Mickey's going to come out at the press conference tomorrow and say like, hey, we're benching this guy or that guy. But I mean, you remember how he talked Jack in the lead up to the season. I mean, this is a dude
Yeah.
who really holds players accountable, and it's like that's the type of stuff that I'm excited to see.
Which, if you had to speculate, that's largely on defense, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I there's a couple offensive players though too that I don't think he's going to put up with. Like, there's been guys on the team, and I don't really feel comfortable naming names, who have left and come back and have been allowed to leave and come back, like quitting the team and then being back on the team. So I don't think he's going to put up with that type of stuff.
Okay. Wow. All right. So like Eric Crouch style, huh?
Going home. Bring in Frank.
But go talk to Fred Petito there and figure it all out. I don't know. He'd probably
Get a
think it
ham
was
sandwich.
weird if the person you're talking about, who I don't know, is. But the defensive part of it is even more fascinating, because just from on the field, beyond whatever you're talking about, just from on the field, if you and I were talking about the players who needed to be replaced or given the person behind them a shot, I think the first 5 to 10 we would both bring up are defensive, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Very obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other thing too that I'm wondering about with defense, like, it's obvious how bad they are. Do you change a style? Like, Jack, you remember that Texas game in 2007 when for some reason Nebraska was like, you know what, we suck. Let's just blitz the hell out of the Longhorns, and it worked for like 3 quarters. Like, I kind of want to see that type of stuff, like just more aggression,
It worked
from
until
the defense.
Colt McCoy got hurt, and they brought in that Childs guy and started running zone read.
Yeah, and then they just ran Nebraska to death. Who was that? That was the Bear. Was that Benson? Was that Cedric Benson that went off that day? Or was it the Chiefs running back?
The quarterback, Jamal Charles. The quarterback
Jamal Charles, yeah.
I think it was Charles. The quarterback, I think his name was Childs. Childs,
Okay.
if I recall.
Okay.
And didn't Sam Keller get hurt in that game? And Joe Gans?
Yes,
came in?
that was when Joe Gans started. That was when he started playing. Pope asked if they can Chenander, who would be DC. Pope, I was told that they are not going to fire Chenander. So I think that now that's for now. I don't know if that means he's in it for the whole season, but he's not getting fired now. So at the very least, he's still going to be on the staff.
That's
for
part of the reason you don't
week.
fire him. Who would be DC?
Yeah, exactly.
Barrett Root?
I
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I have no idea either. So I don't think he's going to lose a job. I think players will. I think there'll be some shuffling. One source told me today, watch out for maybe something with the offensive line. Now I don't really know what that would mean. Like, I was just kind of thinking about the depth chart, and I couldn't really think of anybody obvious. So I mean, and got to figure out what's going on with Prohaska too.
Well,
so,
everybody wants to know.
I'm just curious about that. Like,
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was just
going to say, like, what do you believe in?
Would you? Oh, just real quick. Would you be surprised if anybody was like let go tomorrow? You don't expect anything like that?
No, I think that it will. I think that this staff will be in place. I don't know for how long, but I think that these guys are going to be in place for the Oklahoma game at the very least. I want to find out who they're promoting, since Mickey is now a head coach. That means that in theory, they could bring up a GA to be a full timer.
Okay.
So that'll happen. And I have no names on that, so I have no real theories. I just want to know, like, what he believes in. Trev was pretty upfront, like, hey, he's the dude, and if he wants to make changes, he can make changes. And so where does that show itself? What does that mean for the offense? They've gotten off to such a great start. I hope it means not a whole lot, but what does it mean for the defense?
Yeah. And as I assume Mickey's never really coached defense before, so this is going to be the first time. I guess he had that head coaching stint, but he's not had any role in coaching defense for a long time at this level. How will he be involved? That's interesting to me, right?
Yep, for sure.
He'll be over when they're meeting. I kept looking at him on Saturday, after the bad drives to see if they were getting yelled at on the bench. Is Mickey going to be sticking his head in that? I doubt it, but it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the thing, you see it, Jack, in sports, in college and professional. Guy will get fired, new guy will come in as an interim, and man, they just really fire up the players, and it can be such a, again, breath of fresh air. The one thing that sucks about this scenario is that the defense is just so bad, and I don't think they have the horses. It was already a thin group to begin with, right? So like, that's the one negative. Is I wish that we could look at this and say, like, oh man, a new coach. they can go on a nice little run. I mean, like Ed Orgeron did that 2 times. He did it at USC and he did it at LSU. Yeah. But I mean, think of the schools I just named. There's a lot of talent at those schools. The defense doesn't have that.
I think you're right. But if he somehow does it, you gotta hire him, right, Josh? Get to a bowl.
What's the number? Is that the number? Is 6-6?
No, to what? To actually hire him?
No, like what's the number where people will say, where many are saying
I got
that
you.
Like they have to? Is it that?
It gets uncomfortable for Trev at getting up to a bowl. That's
you think so?
That it gets
5 wins.
I don't think he'll do it, but it gets uncomfortable because you're 5 and how many games are left? 9. So you're 5-4, so you have a winning record. Yeah, that is the bottom floor of it getting uncomfortable, I would say.
So does that mean 7-5 is like super uncomfortable?
Yes. That's getting when you play that game, hot or cold, right? Your feet are burning up. You're starting to get there. And 8,
are they building him a statue?
Building him a statue, signing him a lifetime contract.
If he wins 8 games, Triple B is going to have to make one of those shirts that's like Bob, Tom, a bunch of other guys, Mickey. He's going to have to do one of those shirts.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe there is a number up, whether it's realistic or not, do you believe there's a number out there or a way the season finishes that Trev has to hire him and will carry that out?
I almost look at it the reverse, like where I start at the top and then I ask each of those numbers, like 10-2, yes. 9-3, yes. 8-4, I think is probably, and then I think 7-5 and 6-6, I think are I actually don't think 6-6 would do it. I think 7-5 is one where it's kind of like really it kind of is like the weird gray area with Frost. I don't know, and I've talked to a few people over the years or over the last year about like Mickey, because there's been these rumors out there that he was brought in to literally do this. You remember that over the offseason, and so, but I was always told that like Mickey doesn't want to be a head coach. Now it's easy to say that when you're not a head coach and when you don't think you're going to be a head coach, but maybe you fall in love with it because and maybe they have success. So I don't know. Maybe I think 7 is kind of that weird number, and I think maybe 8 and above. In that spot, everyone's going to be clamoring for it, right?
Yeah.
Given how bad they started this season?
Yeah, but no, just to go back, but do you think a number exists where Trev has no choice but to keep him? Like 8, 9, 10, whatever. Like, does that number
I'd say 9 or better. Because, if they win 9 games, that means he has 1 loss. Like, that would be insane.
But there's still, I guess you have to. But, like, there's still that part of me that talks about, the coaches that you've mentioned that have done well after they've come in and then haven't lit the world on fire after that. Even if that next year was incredible, I don't know how much that factors in, or if he is really just bound and determined, if he's got his person, right?
Look at it from this perspective.
What'd you say?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No. The only thing I say, or if he's talked to Mickey and Mickey doesn't want to do that, and maybe there's another plan in
and then they'd have to be honest and upfront with that, right? Like they'd have to explain to people like, look, Mickey, we swear to God, he doesn't want the job, even though he just went undefeated. Right?
Maybe they've got something else planned, right?
Yeah.
For his future there. I don't know.
Let me throw this out there because I said 9. I think 9 is a number. And look, for the record, everybody, they're not gonna go 9-3. But if they do,
I agree. I fully agree. I don't think they're going to a bowl game, but yes.
At minimum, if they were to go 9-3, at minimum that means that they have a 4-game winning streak at some point because mathematically they have to. That it's impossible to go 8-1 in the final 9 games and not have at least one 4-game winning streak. Otherwise, you're talking about like a 3 and a 5-game winning streak, a 2 and a 6-game winning streak, or a 7 or 8-game winning streak. So like you think, Jack, just listen to what I'm saying right now. They're doing something that they haven't done in years, and they're doing so with a hotshot, former wide receiver coach that came from the South that has multiple wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Okay, all right.
But I don't.
Provided he would want it, and provided yes, I get how dumb that conversation is because of reality.
Yeah, but hey, it was fun to do that instead of all the other stuff.
I bring it up more. I bring it up more or less to because I think it's really possible. But I am interested if people think that Trev is in no way interested in hiring Mickey, no matter what the situation of this year is. That was more the purpose of the question.
Let me put it. Let's spin it another way. And DW says I think 1-11 is on the table. Sadly, I do too. At what point do people really start asking themselves, like, like that's the number that I want to know about, where like the public sentiment kind of shifts, like because there's a lot of people right now who are hoping that he is the guy, and I think it's probably because it's just cleaner and it's not as messy. But I wonder what the number is where a lot of people would say, like, okay, this is like, let's do this,
right?
And that number is probably lower than the number we were just talking about.
Maybe.
Overall.
I don't know. I think that starts to simmer at getting to a bowl game. And I guess the other thing, even beyond a number, Josh, what if you start out slow, which would be very forgivable, but you somehow get 3 out of 4 against the tough last 4 games, right, or something like that,
or even like, I mean, what happens if Mickey? Look, again, I don't think he's gonna be the guy, but I wonder what it does for the fan base, just if he gets a win over, one of the teams, and the teams I'm talking about are Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. I mean, obviously Michigan, but that's way far out of bounds for me. I mean, even Oklahoma, Nebraska hasn't had.
No,
Frost signature win was his first year, right? It was Michigan State. Like
9-6.
What was that?
9-6.
Yeah. So like, what if he was? If anything, man, what if he was just able to bring the fan base together for one night? But look, it's absolutely been a thing in the past where interim coach would have a season and then remain on staff. It happened with Ed Orgeron. Luke Fickell did it. Luke Fickell was the head coach for Ohio State for that whole 2011 season. It didn't go very well, and then he was right back on Urban Meyer's staff the very next season. So like, it wouldn't be like, I hope that people don't think it's awkward if Mickey Joseph even has a modicum of success and then he's still a wide receivers coach next year. Like, some people want to be assistants, like that's very normal.
I would not be surprised if that were a scenario that we saw.
Yeah.
All right. Any comments? I see we're wrapping up the third quarter here, so I tried.
Dude,
to
the
keep
chat's
up.
been on fire tonight.
You guys are flying. If you had any questions, I probably missed them. But anyway,
I tried to pay attention to some of them.
Throw one on right now if you've got anything else.
There was one. Let's see. There was one that I responded to.
We didn't see it. Go ahead and type it again.
Yeah.
Can Josh recap?
Well, there was something earlier about what was the Guinness story. What was the Guinness thing that happened? Players went out to a pub. And there are pictures that have surfaced. Like I've seen a bunch of pictures from different angles. So. That was, people have theorized, like, what went wrong in Ireland that moved up the timeline. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a part of it, but I cannot confirm nor deny. I'm just theorizing there.
All right. Let's see. Can Josh recap the changes he's heard about? I mean, you kind of did a little bit, but
so practice is going to change a little bit. Like they're if I understand right, they're moving Monday to Sunday, so they're going to practice on Sundays now, and then I think Monday is a different, like, I don't remember exactly, but they're doing some stuff at the start of the week that like that stuff I don't really care about. I can't imagine, Jack, that they can change practice times because classes have started. But I wouldn't be surprised if like this is the last year where they're doing morning practices. Let's see. What else did I mention? I think that we're going to see some personnel changes. I was told earlier today to keep an eye on the offensive line. So we'll see what that means. It sounds like Travis Fisher will be coaching the corners. And then Bush and or Chenander will also be helping out with the safeties. I don't know if it's one or both of them, but that sounds like that'll be happening. And I think that was it. I theorized that we're going to have access to all the assistant coaches again starting next week, but that's just me wondering. And I think that there will be a whole lot more accountability with players. Now, I don't know when that will show itself or if that will show itself publicly, but that type of stuff I know is going to be the case.
That could mean you got some players not on the team.
Correct.
Fairly quick.
And that would not surprise me at all.
Real quick, other questions here before we sign off here. Pope says, how is Discord set up? And then I gave him a flip off emoji.
Nice.
Nice. Dave says, DW says, what do you think the realistic range of the win total possibilities is? I don't know. I think the Bull.
I mean, honestly,
I think 5 is the top. I think the bottom is probably 2, 1.
Yeah, the talent is still what it is on defense. I think that they could lose out. I don't think they will, but I think they could. My guess is they'll win probably 3 games, or I think probably 3. I think they'll probably go 4-8.
Travis, what is a realistic timeline for an announcement? Do you think it might be 3 months? Yeah, I think the next coach is probably coaching a college team, and could even be going past or right up to 3 months. I mean, it could be after Thanksgiving and Black Friday, but that's what I would guess.
I would guess it comes after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that would be the earliest for me.
If it's not, that means it's someone who's not coaching right now, or someone who's like bailing on the NFL. I just don't see that happening. So I think it'll happen after Black Friday.
Jake says no way. Trev goes totally Rogan, hires a Mike Riley. I don't think so.
Well, I
don't even know who that is, though. Who is that?
That's what I was going to say. For next time, put it in one of the chat rooms. Who is a Mike Riley equivalent, and then we can discuss it.
Find that person.
Personally, I don't think that's going to happen. I heard someone describe it earlier today as like this is the first hire that will be made by a Big Ten school in the quote-unquote New Deal era, which I loved. I thought that was a funny comparison. But like they're first to the market. They're first to the market in an era where they can spend money on future earnings. Like the podcast I listened to, they theorized that the deal is going to be 6 or 7 years, and it's going to be like $54 million or north of that. So we're talking about a $9 million coach at Nebraska. Jeez. So like, it ain't going to be Mike Riley 2.0.
Jeez. Dave also asked, without thinking, who is the next coach? Gut reaction. I'll still give me Campbell and Leipold, and I'll give you the field. That's where I'm at, Josh. If I took Campbell and Leipold, would you take the field?
No.
Yeah.
If I had to bet, I would. I think that a bet with those two coaches is probably the safest.
I believe those to be. This is. If I had to guess, I really think it's going to be one of those two. And probably more strongly Campbell. But Leipold, I just have a hunch about. That's completely a hunch.
Well,
nothing other than that.
Kansas got that win. Like, let's see what happens. His stock is already rising. Let's see what happens.
And you know what you got, Josh? Got a Nebraska connection, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
And then Stu Manji. Okay, that's not a question. That's a compliment. Thank you, Stu Manji. I appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoyed
Stu Manji.
Hey, seriously, let us know if you guys liked it. And I'll leave this chat open throughout the end of the night. I'll get rid of it tomorrow just so it's not confusing. But you can keep chatting if you want to chat about the game, or if you guys want to put it on in one of these places. But let me know, and Josh know, if you liked it doing it this way. Nobody really wants to talk that much. We're willing if somebody wants to. That's one of the nice things about this. Or you like the other one better. So we'll take a look at that and see what you guys all say about that. All right. Cool.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, podcasters, if you're hearing this and you are not a part of the Discord, not a part of the I-80 Club, and you want to be, or you just want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com. And you can go ahead and you can $3 a month, $5 a month. You can get all of these live. You can watch them live like a bunch of people we interacted with did tonight. Get them right after our shows immediately, not have to wait for any podcasts. And you can also be on this Discord, which is turning into a really cool community and kind of a unique community than I think most of us have ever been a part of online. So there you go. All right, that is it. Goodbye, podcasters. We will see you after the Saturday night show this week. Should be fun. So there you go. Bye-bye. All right, podcasters are off.
One more thing to everybody that is in here for the time being. I keep having to explain this because I let me see if my friend is in here, and I won't say his name because he's gone. I had a friend and I asked him like, "Hey, are you subscribed to the RSS feed?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Oh.
And so if anybody is in here, and they subscribe on Patreon to the private feed, and that's where this episode will go there tonight. When Jack sends it to me, I will post it tonight. If you could let me know if your own personal RSS feed is working in your app, That would be very nice. Biff reached out to me. I think he's been hanging out in here listening tonight. Nope, he's gone now too. But I know Biff, he said he was unable to listen on his normal podcast app because the one from Saturday night didn't, or the Saturday morning one didn't load in there. But I think it might have with some other people. So I'm just trying to figure out what the best way is to get that out. I know I like listening to all of my podcasts on my actual app, not on the Patreon app. So if you could let me know, that would be wonderful. But I'll be posting that on the Patreon feed later on tonight, like usual.
All right, cool. Pope said,
I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but there you go.
I sort of didn't listen, but it doesn't involve me that much, other than making the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Jack. I appreciate it.
No, but I'm glad. I appreciate you doing that. I say a lot of stuff about Discord that doesn't make sense to you too. And by the way, regarding that, Pope suggested putting on a screening room, event room, if you can share your screen. Either way, do it either way. If you want to put the game on, I'll jump in there too. But my computer goes slow when I share my screen. So, all right, peace out, everybody.
Jack, I realized we never gave this a name. We should have given it. We forgot to set. What are we calling this so I can label the podcast?
I just called it Monday Night on I-80 or MNF show on I-80. But if we need a new, I'm not married to that. If you want to give it a cooler name, if anybody can come up with one. So
okay. Yeah, if anyone has a fun name idea, let us know.
Monday night clubbing. I don't know. I'm not gonna do a focus group sort of.
Going up on a Monday, club going up on a Monday. Yeah. Oh, what about that club going up on a Monday?
Whatever you want, Josh.
That's stupid.
Fine with me. Yeah, it is. But whatever. Okay. Monday night drive. Monday night musings.
Monday
the Monday musings. Club.
Yeah,
Monday,
this was definitely. The Monday Club. That's fun.
No, that's confusing because it's the I-80 Club. Okay. No offense, Josh.
Okay.
It's because we're already the club. It's
the other Josh.
It's a meeting within a club. Monday night.
I did like this one. It was very loose. It was just like, hey,
what, the podcast?
Question and answer.
Or you mean our discussion? That's because you had some. You liked our discussion tonight. You mean?
Yeah.
That's because you had such good information and takes. I just wanted to interview you tonight.
Yeah, I hope that I'm able to. I think I'm not gonna make any promises, but I think I'm gonna have some solid information throughout this search. So I hope I'm able to drop some nugs.
Yeah, and by the way, don't copy and paste and that kind of stuff, which we said we appreciate that, so we can do this.
Yeah,
which makes it
exactly.
Monday Night Raw.
That's why I didn't name the players.
Monday Night
Raw. I like Monday Musings is fun.
Monday night.
My GF says I-80 cast. What about I-80 cast?
Well, that could seem like all of them, though. So I feel like bad.
Because it sounds like I-80
I'm critiquing
Club.
everything everyone says, and I feel like I'm being a jerk.
No, that's okay.
No, I'm a jerk. So tell Reese I'm sorry. No, it's a great name.
Yeah.
I'm
all
sorry.
right, we'll figure it out. We'll
I'm closing.
Monday night. What about Monday Night Watch Party? Brendan says, what about it being a watch party?
Whatever. MNF. That's basically why I called it MNF.
All right, I'm gonna name it Monday Night Watch Party, and if we come up with a better, even though we barely talked about it.
Yeah, we didn't really. It's false advertising. Monday night meeting. Monday night. I don't know. Who cares? We'll figure it out. All right. Bye. I'm disconnecting. Bye.
Okay. See you later, everybody.
You say bye first.
Bye.